creating curiosity by asking better questions. This is Shed Talk. Shane Wenzel, the things you know that you don't know, or did you know? Shane Wenzel, thank you for coming on Shed Talk. It's been an honor to have you here.
Kevin, thank you for having me.
And this has been outstanding because I know when I was looking to get a hold of you, I said, I wonder if Shane would actually come on, because I believe you have your own podcast, which I found out just recently. You don't,
No.
but you are so out there in social media on all contacts. It's incredible to see you out there and doing a great, amazing job.
Well, talk about a part-time passion that just started out of lockdowns more than anything.
And what was the greatest challenge in that? As in the social media?
Getting in front of the camera. I'd always been comfortable in front of it, but it's a different space when you hop on and you start doing your own videos and you try and talk intelligently and fluidly and learning a little bit more about that. But hey, we're not supposed to stop learning as we get older. We're supposed to learn more and take a few more chances. So why not that?
Oh, totally. So when you were in lockdown, and I see a lot of your videos, you're just doing one-on-one with, like, you're actually talking about whatever that's going to be, but you're not being interviewed.
No, I'm not being interviewed. I'm just talking about subjects I might be a little more passionate about.
And do you find it takes you longer to edit and cut and practice and train for it, or are you just a one shot and just get it done?
Well, that's how it started out until it got too big to manage alone. And I finally had to, talk to my friend Zach Hussein and say, I need help. Please come help me. And, that's a friendship that came into place many, many years ago. And now it's a bit of a business partnership as well.
So when you were getting set up in the social media, did you look at it as more like a business?
You know what? When I first got on there, I was just more curious as to what this was. And then it just kind of became a part-time passion. And, and just in some respects, I guess it could be a bit of a business. I'm not making money at it. I'm just having fun doing it and talking about, like I said, things that I'm definitely more passionate about.
And it's interesting because you also are doing some writing.
Mm-hmm.
And how's that?
Oh, yeah. There's another thing that came out of lockdowns. I was originally asked by AEG, the Alberta Enterprise Group, as a board member, to write the column for Business in Calgary monthly. And so it started off there, and then I knew a few people over at the Western Standard, and Corey Morgan gave me a call up one day and said, hey, I like what you're doing, and would you mind doing an opinion column for us? So on top of what I do on a regular basis, I end up doing social media, shooting these videos, and then writing 2 opinion columns for Western Standard and for Business in Calgary every month.
And on the business side of that, as doing the column, what's been the hardest challenge?
I think the hardest challenge is coming up with a topic to write about all the time. You want to find something that's relevant, maybe a hot button issue. And, sometimes I think they would prefer if I would find that. And sometimes I'm just writing something that's sticking in my brain and I just want to get it out on paper.
So young writers out there, when they're actually getting started and doing this, what's a great advice you'd tell somebody to do? Or do they use AI?
Some of them might use AI. I look at some of the articles out there and I think, well, was that AI or did somebody actually come up with that? No, I think I read a lot. I read a lot of news, whether it be political or health or wellness related. And that really kind of inspires me.
And with the health and wellness and stuff like that, how's mindset after COVID with everybody out here? From your experience on this?
Well, from my experience, there's challenges, and I think you could foresee that this was going to happen. When you take away people's ability to be social, it was bound to have an impact. And I witnessed it more so, I think, with my son, who's in that early 20s age group, and these are the times when they're out there, they're dating and they're partying, they're having fun with their friends, and then all of a sudden, nothing. You're stuck in your apartment or you're stuck at home living with your parents, and you're not really out there interacting. That took a huge toll on people. And I don't think we're out of that yet. I don't think we'll be out of that for a long time.
How do you feel how it's going to be handled in the future? Like, especially with your own son. My son,
Hmm.
he's around 24 years old, went through that as well. He's
Yeah.
in IT, but he stays at home, meaning at his house, and he's
Yes.
basically doing everything there. And it's like, get yourself out. As when I was younger,
Hmm.
and I don't know if it's a right way or a wrong way. It's just a different way of being. How do
Yeah.
you feel on that?
Well, that is an entirely different generation too. I still remember, screaming and yelling at 2 o'clock in the morning as he's playing video games, waking me up, and me texting him, from the other end of the house, yelling, "Shut up!" I mean, it's an entirely different generation, but they are social. They want to get out there and they want to be around their friends and family, and it took a toll. I'd like to see them get back to where they should be and start doing more of that. And they're slowly getting there, but it'll take some time.
What do you think is going to be one of the stumbling blocks in that? Like holding them back? Like how would you push
They
someone to
lack
go?
some social skills for sure. Again, what did our parents tell us to do at our age? Go out and play in the street. Well, which we literally did. We went and we played in the street. We played in the park. I mean, we found ways of entertaining ourselves outside of the house. And you have an entire generation that grew up not. They had these supercomputers. They had video games, and they had cell phones. And I remember my son's phone going off constantly because of Snapchat because they're having group conversations. Like we used to just do that on the phone. We had a single line. God, you were rich if you had a double line in the house, but we had a single line and we talked, and that's how we met up. Was where are we going to be? 9 o'clock, Electric Avenue, down at the bar. Okay, I'll see you then.
Yeah. And it's interesting. I was talking with a few people before, the younger generation,
Mm-hmm.
and how all of a sudden they get a part-time job.
Yep.
And I was, because I'm more in the fitness aspect of it. So they're working the front desk at a
Mm-hmm.
fitness place and then said, okay, you got to answer the phone. And you don't realize that all of a sudden someone's at the phone and the phone rings
Yeah.
and they pick it up and it doesn't say mom, it doesn't say Tony, it doesn't say ever. And they're going, what do you do? And I remember looking at him and going, what are you doing? Just
Mm-hmm.
answer the phone. And then you didn't realize how simple that one task was that's
Yeah.
not there.
Yeah.
And in industry, your front desk, and you go, if you don't know how to answer the phone versus your cell phone, it's a totally different experience.
Sure it is. Sure it is.
Do you ever see that coming around as well with your
I
organizations and stuff?
I see that as a bit of a challenge for them. Even interacting with the general public. I think the easiest way to relate to it is when my son went away to school. He went down to Lethbridge, and my partner Matt told him one of the first things you do once you're in school is he said, go get a job somewhere in customer service so you can learn how to interact with people properly. So he went and got a job at Princess Auto, and he dealt with customers that way. And 5% of them were shitty to him, and 95% were great to work with. But it opened him up socially. And I would welcome that experience for anybody in that age group to really open up and kind of find themselves.
And that's where it comes in, because you usually look at about 90% of, like we'll take Calgary as an example. How many people, I would say population-wise, like 90% are in the hospitality industry.
You bet.
And where that comes in, that you actually have to look someone in the eye, see them and do them. And then going from into Princess Auto, working there versus into the actual restaurant industry, the hospitality side, but you're still dealing with people.
Sure you are.
And then having to deal with the objections, because it can be quite crude on that one side of it versus the other side of it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Now, as an entrepreneur and being in a family business forever, how challenging has that been for you?
It's been forever challenging. It has a lot of fun aspects, and there's some downsides to it. But I mean, that's family. That's dealing with family. But I mean, we have a lot of fun together. And it's an interesting time for us because at one point in time there were 7 of us involved in the business on a day-to-day basis, and now there's 3. Well, 3.5, we'll call it that, because my sister is kind of semi-retired at this point. My father's 80 years old, but he still loves coming into the office because he's passionate about it. And then there's my brother-in-law, who's our COO, and I'm the CEO and president of the company. So it's changed over time. The dynamics have changed, especially when you're in the leadership role for the entire company, or group of companies now, because it's not just one family or one business with just Shane Homes. It's the Shane Homes group of companies. It's single family, it's multifamily, it's land development, it's investments as well. So I have a very different role than what my father had when he was running things on a day-to-day basis, and it's challenging, but it's fun. But the latest challenge is we're deep, deep, deep into succession planning because none of us are getting any younger, and there's another generation behind us that we have to help mentor to keep the family business going.
And how hard is that? Because when you're looking at generational, bringing in generational, the statistics on that is extremely high that it doesn't work.
Sure it is.
You have the Waltons, and well, we can go into the successful ones, but
Yes.
a lot of businesses can't do generational transitions.
It's very difficult, but I think we're up for the task. Second generation, I'm not as worried. If it were my son, third generation, I would be extremely worried, and I'll have to deal with that one day, possibly. If he chooses to, he can come in, he can operate one of the companies, or he can operate the whole group, or he can just play a part on the family board.
Mm. Now, also, do you have mentors that you work with as well as entrepreneurs, like organizations out there that you be a part of? I don't know if it's tech or EO or YPO. Are you part of any organization like that?
I actually was a part of tech for 7 years, and I would highly recommend that to anybody. I mean, that was one of the best experiences I've ever had. And I still have a lot of friendships from that, but I did retire from it 3-4 years ago. And the only reason I did is that a lot of the older members were starting to pull the plug. They were starting to retire. You're bringing in newer groups, smaller groups, and it just seemed like the right time to kind of ride off into the sunset. But you learn a tremendous amount during that time, and honestly, just one of the best experiences learning from other entrepreneurs, larger, smaller, and learning how to grow your business.
What was one of the greatest takeaways with tech?
God, there's so many of them.
Did you do a lot of traveling with them as well? Like I belong to an organization called EO.
Yes.
And kind of the same concept. And I go back, and I've been a member for over 25 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And through transitions from zero to hero, like I remember they're like your board of directors and you're going through there, but there's always those little nuggets that change your life that allows us to grow. Is there any one part that you had an aha going, what a great experience I had?
Well, like I said, I mean, there's a lot of them, but I think, one of my favorite times was when we would do our yearly retreat in January, and we'd have a lot of good discussions. We'd have a great speaker come in, something that was motivating, something that was timely for what we were trying to do. But, the interactions with the group, not only just for a session, but, outside of that, we're there for a couple of days, so you get to know everybody on a more personal level. And you begin to find out what makes them tick. But one of the best takeaways from that is you're able to bring up issues with everybody, and it's kept confidential, and it could be business related, it could be personal, it could be family related. We worked through a hell of a lot of stuff, and it's one of the greatest experiences you could possibly have because not everything is related to your business. Lots of times it's related to your personal life or your family life.
And that's the thing, personal and business people and integrity, they're all intertwined. You can't say this and be this. You have to be you're all encompassing. And everyone's listening to you, especially in the position that you hold in Calgary. And what you say and how you say it has to be politically correct because it
for
comes
the
back
most
at
part.
you. Well, you're writing columns now, so they can be a little bit more.
Yeah, well, 5% of them don't like me anyway, so what?
That's exactly. And you're not running for politics
No.
yet.
Well, they keep saying yet. I don't know if Matt would really want me pursuing anything like that. He likes to keep things a little more private on the personal side, which is fine. He keeps his social media presence and his friend group pretty tight, and I just seem to open it up. Yeah.
So you open it up for everybody, or?
Well, for the most part, yeah. I mean, there's certain things that you don't want necessarily want to let go to everybody, but at the same time, I mean, in order to be social, you have to be authentic, and you have to let people in that way.
And you've been out there, and with your family being around for 25, 30 years, I believe it is probably around 30 years old. 30 years?
Oh, the company, Shane Holmes started back in 1979, so we're into our 45th year of business.
What was the first community you built?
Well, it wasn't really a community at that time. Things were very small. A lot of the builders, larger groups that you see nowadays, came out of the ashes of the '80s. So Cal would pick up lots at I mean, they would have been lot draws, kind of, sort of. And you're picking up what they call straggler lots all over the place. So I think one of the first communities he built in was Edgemont, and that was a karma community at the time. And the best story I have there is he's still sleeping with his first customer because things were slow.
Oh,
And my mother became their first customer. She had him build a semi-detached revenue property, which she held on to for about 25 years and then finally let it go.
so did that take him a year to build that property?
No, it didn't take a year. It went by pretty quick. I think they had that thing up in about 4 or 5 months.
Wow. Well, that's what I was thinking because the relationship, it's gone for a long time for a year. So it becomes a long build, becomes the storytelling on top of that.
Well, you could just build them a heck of a lot faster back then. We didn't have the same roadblocks. We didn't have the same red tape that we're dealing with now. You're not doing energy modeling. You're coming up with a plan and you're building it. And, some of the things on site, you're kind of lining up that way and moving forward.
And you were building houses. How old were you when you first started?
I was 14 years old when I was on the job sites. And simply put, my father, he just said, you're old enough now. You're not sitting on your ass during the summer. And that's how it started. He said, we need help on the job sites and you're going out there. So John Hirschop, one of our supervisors at the time, would pick me up at about 7 o'clock in the morning, and we'd be down at the construction trailer by 7:30, and he'd give me a list of what I was doing that day, and it usually entailed patio blocks because we were laying patio blocks from the front driveway all the way down the walkout and building that 10 by 12 patio. And I would go through 2 sets of gloves a day or every couple of days and laying these patio blocks, cleaning out basements. That was fun, especially in the winter time, because it didn't just end at summer. If there was a professional development day, my dad was excited. It's like, great, now you got 3 days you can work.
And how did that make you feel?
Well, at first you're young, you're pissed off. All you want to do is take the time and, be a kid. And, he's sitting there saying, no, we need help. You need a work ethic. And that was probably one of the best experiences I ever took away from it is, you work, you're there to work and, there's time to play, but, you have to help build this business with us. It's a family business.
So did he state that this was going to be a family business and say, listen, here you are.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be a yes. No, let's talk. You're Shane. So it's Shane Holmes. And the story we hear, he named it after you, I'm assuming. You probably know the story better than I do. Yeah.
But there was never an expectation that I would be involved with or take over the company. That I had to earn on my own.
And having that and that being the carrot out there saying, yes, you had to earn it. You're going to work hard at it. Mm-hmm. Was there ever a point you said, you know what, I want to go into broadcasting or I want to be in journalism, whatever that would have been at that time?
If my mother had her druthers, I would be in journalism or broadcasting or even, still, drawing comics out.
And comics was for writing for drawing and everything?
For drawing, yeah. No, I was a really good artist back then. And, she always thought I would pursue that. Of course, back then there's no money in this either. It is definitely a passion project. But, she would always hope that I would have pursued something else. And I think she's finally given up on that now because I've been doing this for 34 years.
But it's interesting. So now you talk about journalism, you talk about... Yes. And I just brought that in the comic writing.
Yes.
So fast forward to today, because now you're at a situation, you're going back to your roots, as in the passion of all of a sudden being able to write, being able to draw. And I'm not just asking. You must be doing some drawing now or no?
I still get on the artboard at home,
and then you're doing that.
Yeah, just having a little bit of fun along the way.
Oh, that is amazing.
Yeah.
And then now you're into the podcasting and, the social media side of it. So and bringing back when you were doing the training aspect. What did you take in college?
I took some MBA courses. I didn't get my full MBA, but I learned the basics of a lot of it. That's it.
And that was it.
Other than that, you learn by osmosis on the job, and you do pick up a few other courses along the way because. There was never seemed to be enough time to fully go back to school and get a full degree.
Did you ever worry? Well, did you ever worry about you should have gone back, should have, could have, would have? But you're now back into the Haskins. Is it Haskins School of Business now?
The Haskins School of Business. Yeah,
Make sure
that's
I
where
get
I
it
took
right.
and what they called it at the time was the Management Essentials course. So they took you through every module of the MBA program. So it was brand new at the time, and that was 16 weeks. And that was 2 days a week, 16 weeks. So you get a better appreciation for it, and half the modules are good, and the other half are a waste of time.
So, as in where you are today, was it a
Yes.
waste of time to take those courses? Because
No.
where you're at, no, I'm not saying a waste of time that you shouldn't, because learning,
Yeah.
we're always learning. But it's one of those things that you have people that you hire that do certain things that make you look good, so
Yes.
that you can actually grow and vision the company. So sometimes people get caught in working in the business versus truly working on the
The business.
business.
Yes.
Can you elaborate more? Like, what does it truly mean to work on the business?
Well, to work on the business, you really have to pull yourself out of the day to day. I mean, it's great to understand that, but you do hire the expertise around you to manage all of that. You know, Working on the business, you have to have a vision for where you want it to go 5, 10 years from now, and you have to stay abreast of all the changes happening out there, and especially in our industry, it changes constantly, like year to year. I mean, I still don't enjoy reading codes, but I do have to read codes. But you have to follow up with some courses and talk to a lot of your counterparts and even counterparts outside of your industry to understand what's happening in the world. Where is this thing going now? As we've seen, with the kind of the rental economy, that's growing substantially. I think a lot of the multifamily projects out there now are all purpose-built rentals.
Yeah.
And why? Because we're sitting in, a housing shortage.
And it's interesting because we talk about a housing shortage, and what do we have? The boom and the bust, and here we are. And then we start to look back, and in the Calgary area, and I can basically hand pick any city across Canada, and you look at how many companies have been in business for over 25 years. And watching how their infrastructure has been and changes inside of a company, and seeing how they've actually adapted to booms and busts and adapted to where we're at today.
Yes.
And it seems that we always have that. It seems to be the same pattern in Civical every single time. As you mentioned about your being a visionary and working on the business, where your dad, he would have been in part of this area right now talking about growth too.
Yes.
And some people would say it's a pie in the sky. No, that's not going to happen. It's going to do this again. So, and then to be able to interchange that back and forth for you and him, and a young person like yourself being able to do this as a family business, that has to be challenging.
Well, it's always challenging to stay on the leading edge, and you mentioned the perfect timeline right there. I mean, 25 years is the average life cycle of any business. You go up, you peak, you come down, and when you come down, it's usually because you're not changing with the marketplace.
And the people don't have succession plan to get out of it, and they just going, been there, done. I don't want to have to do this. Versus seeing the opportunities of AI and new technology that's coming in, because in the construction industry as a whole, I'm finding it very backwards, and making that leap and change forward can be done, but it's just getting everybody on board to say, hey, listen, technology is there for us to grow. How are you guys using technology today?
In every aspect of the business. I always joke, but it's true. When we went into lockdowns, we were this close to having virtually everything digitized. We were about 20% of the way, or far away from getting that done. So, I mean, it came at a good time, I guess, because it pushed us to get that last bit done. But I mean, we can manage everything. We could manage everybody working from home if we had to, if we ever got locked down again. But it's also been a benefit for the consumer, because they want access to their information 24/7. They want access to the people 24/7, and you can provide that now. And I think that's just part of how this business evolves is giving people that access and that feeling that they're in control.
And it's interesting because on the trade aspect of it, where I come from the other side, it seems to be the backward side of it. To get them to go new technology here, it's been a very slow and hard process to
Yes.
get back in there, because a lot of people, and we talk labor shortage when they talk this, and I look at it, I don't find it's necessarily a labor shortage. I just call it more of a retention shortage, that companies in the trade industry don't know how to truly look after their people, to keep them around, to train them properly, to take it to the next level, versus overselling the product. Oh yeah, we can do you here. Oh yeah, we got this, versus, well, wait a second.
Yes.
There's a time and place that you say, we can only do this much. This is where we're at, and this is our technology that's going to allow us to do this, this, and this. So we find everybody, the salespeople jump in and we're, oh, well, yeah, we'll take it. And next thing you know, everybody's disappointed and we have a labor short. Oh, well, and we use that as the excuse. And I'm in this industry and I'm watching and I'm going, guys, let's talk what the true reality is, can be built. And then housing shortage is where we're at. So that makes it a very challenging to make sure that the trades are on the same page, and don't lie to us. Just tell us if you can do it or not do it, so we can move forward and do 1 million houses or 10 houses or whatever that is.
Nobody wants to disappoint, but I think there's a few things missing there. There's some sophistication that's missing. You talk about technology. I laugh because we used to sell our old fax machines to our trades. Yeah, that kind of always gave you an indication of how far behind they were.
Right.
And with everything digitizing now, yeah, I mean, it's a small investment, a time investment, but you could be doing so much more and more efficiently if you would just include some of that technology to get a step ahead. That's why I always say with the younger generation here, they don't have to necessarily know how to be a painter or how the application goes, but you know what? The right entrepreneur could step in there and really revolutionize that side of the business. Even like I said, even if they don't have any experience in it, if they're a great entrepreneur, they know how to run it. Huge opportunities, especially with the age. Because I think that's one of the problems that we're running into today is, a lot of people, again, I talk about coming out of the ashes of the 80s. If you were 20 years old then getting into the business, where are you 45 years later? You're ready to call it a day. So where are the young kids coming in? That's why I say this generation has the greatest opportunity of any generation in the last 45 years.
Yeah, and it doesn't take much for them to be great, because as an entrepreneur, and a lot of people talk trades and say, you know what, our biggest problem with trades are, and the young people getting into it, oh, I'm scared, I don't want to get into it. But it's not about the trades. It's being an entrepreneur to truly, you know what, let me show you how you can create wealth by duplicating, BHAGing it, or big audacious goals, and then be an entrepreneur. Like some of the things we talk about, cribbers. Oh, well, you can't, or cribbing, it's only a one-man operation, or it's whatever that story. And I go, well, wait a second. That's the story or the narrative that people tell you. As an entrepreneur, we come up with great ideas and great ways to say, how can we make it 10 people? How do we do this? How do we set up a school? How do we make that happen? And that's where that whole entrepreneurship and watching the construction, and young people, they will get into it and start to see the potential, as in my son, your son, and looking at it as, yes, we don't seem to be very connected today, but there comes a light bulb gets switched on. And then, when did your dad tell you, come on, get your stuff together here, you got to do it? When I was your age, I went uphill 2 ways, both ways. And here we are, our age, going, now I remember saying that same thing back to my kid. So
they were right.
Yeah, here we go again. So it makes it very challenging and exciting. So,
Yes.
Well, Shane, thank you very much for being on Shed Talk. And it was an honor having you on board.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Now you know. Shed Talk.